Hi and welcome. My name is Rabbi Yehuda Ceitlin of Tucson, Arizona. It is a pleasure to be presenting as we know them. Today I'm presenting 7 lessons from Ruth on living life with purpose. Shavuos is a favorite holiday in our family. We walk together to synagogue to hear the 10 Commandments read out of a Torah scroll, and then, as custom has it, we enjoy a dairy meal with lots of delicacies and calories. And if that's not enough, we top it off with an ice cream party. Another custom on Shavuos is to read the book of Ruth, Megillas Esther. A few reasons are given why we do so. One is that since King David was born and passed away on Shavuos, we read the book about his lineage. Another reason is Shavuos is a harvest festival, and the book of Ruth tells a story about the harvest in the land of Israel and how the poor were treated with dignity and were provided with charity. A third reason is because over 3,300 years ago, when we stood at Mount Sinai to receive the Torah, we were all essentially converts. The book of Ruth tells a story about a very inspiring convert named Ruth. But there was a rabbi, a Talmudist named Rav Zera, who questioned the entire premise and purpose of this book. He said, "This scroll does not contain the laws of purity and impurity, prohibitions or permissions. No mitzvahs mentioned in here. So why was it written?" Rav Zera answers his question. But sometimes a question is not there to simply spoon feed you an answer. Sometimes a question is there to make you think and ponder and dig deep enough in a topic so you find an interest and a relevance so it impacts your life. It got me thinking. So I studied a book named Lekach Tov. It was written by Rabbi Tobiah ben Eliezer. He lived in the 11th and 7th century in Greece, and he wrote a commentary named Medrash Lekach Tov on Torah and the Megillas. He bases it on Midrashim and some writings of the Rishonim, the early halachic works. I used his teachings to find lessons that would be relevant to our lives today, because that was Reb Zera's question. Why is this book written? It's really a question for us. Why do we find this book worthy enough or important enough to exist and to study if it doesn't have relevance to our lives? So here are the 7 lessons from the book of Ruth on living life with purpose based on the teachings of Lekach Tov. So here's the first. Before a new undertaking, you have to let go of an old one. The book of Ruth tells a story about a Jewish family who settles in Moab. They run away from Israel because there was a famine there. A short while after they arrive, the father passes away and then his 2 sons pass away. The widow named Naomi is left with her 2 daughters-in-law, Orpah and Ruth. With nothing left to keep her in Moab, she decides that she's going to head back home. She starts to travel. Orpah and Ruth follow along. But it was about Ruth that it is written, she left the place where she had been living to the land of Judah. The Medrash says that it wasn't that she was just advancing towards the land of Judah, but that she was advancing towards the traditions of Judah, the religion of Judah, the people of Judah. In order for her to adopt this new way of life, she first needed to leave that land. As it says, she left the place. She first needed to let go of the old beliefs in order to accept new beliefs. So before a new undertaking, you need to let go of the old one. Lesson number 2. Sacrifices need to be made. The verse describes their journey that they set out on the road. The Medrash learns from here, from the words on the road, that they walked barefoot. Ruth didn't mind. She was willing to make the sacrifices and endure inconveniences in order for her to pursue what she believed in. Sometimes doing the right thing does not come easy and does not happen smoothly. But we still do it because we know that's the right thing. Here's a modern day example. In 2017, a rabbi named Yeshayahu Heber, his name and his picture were plastered all over Israeli media. He has founded an organization titled Matnat Chaim, the gift of life. What it does is it matches kidney donors with transplant patients. Now in 2017, he was being investigated and accused of organ trafficking. His name has been tarnished. His organization has been in shambles. But he stuck to it. And a year later, the truth was told and the case was closed without any charges. It was this rabbi's sincerity and his devotion that inspired one of his own interrogators to become a kidney donor himself. Rabbi Heber later said that just in order to save another person's life, it was worth going through that year of painful suffering. He sadly passed away recently of coronavirus, but his example, his organization is still in operation. His wife is running it. And I think that's a beautiful example of making sacrifices and remaining true to who you are along the way. Lesson 3. How you are perceived does not define you. The verse describes that Naomi said to her 2 daughters-in-law, by what she was telling them, Orpah and Ruth, she was telling them that I beg you to remain here in the land of Moab, remarry, build a family, and live the life of comfort, because both of them came from royalty. By putting them in the same category, or by speaking of them as one, the Medrash learns that Naomi saw both Orpah and Ruth as equals. Orpah remained behind, but Ruth would not be defined. She says, I have a goal and I'm going to pursue it. And in fact, later on, the verse describes both of them as, and the 2 went on until they reached Bethlehem. The 2 meaning Naomi and Ruth, showing that they were eventually seen as equals in their faith. Don't let others define you. Lesson number 4. Accomplish the most you can while you can. Ruth has a line, so may the Lord do to me, and so may he continue. So may he do to me, the Medrash learns that the life that he gives me, I will do the most with it. She's committing herself to practicing mitzvahs, to doing good things in life, to fulfilling God's commandments during this lifetime. You see, in eternity, we reap the benefits of what we practice in our lifetime. But it is only in our lifetime that we're able to practice the mitzvahs. As they say in Yiddish, chap arayin, which means seize the moment. This is the time, your single lifetime, this is the time to get things done and do good things. Lesson 5. Seek and heed the advice of the righteous. Naomi and Ruth get to the land of Israel, penniless, and Ruth offers Naomi to go on her own and collect food for the two of them. But it's not like she notifies her, she really requests her permission. The Medrash learns from this that Naomi was not just a family member, but a spiritual guide to Ruth. Naomi was a righteous woman whose ways were pleasant and nice, as the Medrash says. Ruth looked up to her and understood that this is not just a person that we should be taking advice from, but also following it. As Ethics of Our Fathers say, Aseh lecha rav, find yourself a spiritual guide and follow that person's example and instructions. Lesson number 6. The first step is up to you. The verse reads, she got up again to glean on Ruth. We learn from here that Ruth wasn't idle. She worked hard to get things done, to survive and to prosper. In fact, on Naomi's instructions, she herself gets close to Boaz, a prominent member of the community at the time, and eventually marries him. She's willing to take the first step, to work hard and get things done. As important knowledge and understanding is, we're defined by our actions. And what we do really defines our life. So the first thing to do is simply to start doing it. To start doing things on a regular basis. Theories are nice. You could understand all the mitzvahs, but if you're not practicing them, what are they worth? Mitzvahs are there to be practiced. Life is there to be lived. Ruth taught us to take action. And the 7th and final lesson, let kindness lead the way. Ruth, the book of Ruth, is a prime lesson on chesed, on showing kindness to other people. Ruth showed kindness to a widow, Naomi. She not only walks with her, she takes care of her. After Ruth has her own child, she makes sure that her mother-in-law, who is childless, is able to educate the child and spend time with the child. In this kindness, Ruth has shown the way for many others that followed her. And she was rewarded for this, to be the great-grandmother of King David and the ancestress of the kingdom of Judah, and eventually the Messiah. There's so many lessons in this book. I think these 7 answer some of Reb Zera's question, why was this book written? There's so much relevancy to our lives in this book. And I think the fact that we read the book of Ruth on Shavuos, which happens right before the summer and right before a long stretch without any holidays, shows that this book has enough in it to provide us enough inspiration throughout the summer until we reach the high holidays. So this Shavuos, whether you're at home or at a synagogue, take time to read and learn the book of Ruth. Find its points that are relevant, that talk to you, and that might have impact on your life. And until we meet again, I wish you a happy, meaningful, and healthy holiday of Shavuos. Thank you for joining.